Any couple that has been in a relationship for more than 1 year knows that no one can knock the wind out of you quite like your spouse. You know that feeling when you feel weak, fatigued, helpless, limp, and worthless all at the same time? I'll never forget when my wife and I were talking about something. I don't even remember what it was. But out of nowhere, at least for me it seemed that way, she began talking about how she can't remember why she married me. And what's worse, we hadn't even been married that long. How could she have forgotten that quickly why she married me? What made her comment twice as hard of a pill to swallow was the fact that my parents were separated at that time and trying to decide if their marriage of 28 years was over or worth saving. How do couples get to there? You know, that place where you feel that the marriage is not worth pursuing any longer. I'm one of the biggest anti-divorce activists I know, so it boggles my mind that divorce would even cross people's minds. But the reality is that it does. The simple truth is that all throughout the relationship or in the marriage, your spouse is communicating feelings, hurts, desires, and wishes with you. Your spouse is sending you signals every day. Unfortunately, far too often, these signals are missed or taken lightly, or at least they're not taken as seriously as they should have been taken. So what's the solution? The solution is never a simple one. Though I'm going to share a solution with you, I want you to be aware that it does take great effort from both parties to steer a marriage away from the infamous there. Of course, the first obvious action to take is to simply listen. When you're actively listening to your spouse, you'll be surprised at what he or she is actually trying to say to you. Be responsible and mature enough to accept and understand what your spouse is saying. Be glad that your spouse is willing to talk with you about it. That's a good sign, because the fact that your spouse is willing to talk with you lets you know that there's still hope for your marriage. The second action would be to take action. It's not enough to only hear what your spouse is saying. The fact that he or she even mentioned those concerns to you should be acknowledged and appreciated, but don't stop there. Your spouse is expecting you to do something with the knowledge that you have now been given. If there's a long list of things you need to change, then discuss with your spouse the top 3 or perhaps 5 things that you should work on first. Next, you'll want to check in. Frequently ask your spouse how you're doing in those areas that he or she felt you were weak in. Always remember that it's only your spouse's perception that matters. That means that your perception of the situation really doesn't count. Finally, you close the circle by listening some more. Your spouse is always communicating with you, whether verbally or non-verbally, whether to you directly or to someone else, whether loudly or quietly, so always be listening. By practicing these steps regularly, you can save your marriage from a bitter